We had a great conversation for an upcoming episode with a retired contractor.
Yeah.
He gave the great bit of like, oh, call three people. Don't go further than that.
Right.
That's a huge deal. But then how do you make an informed decision? How are you going to pick those three people?
I didn't have any. I'm stumbled a bit, right? Because I think that was part of what we were talking about. So some of the picking the people is getting yourself educated.
Right.
So you're collaborating with these consultants, and generally 3 is a number that people use for all kinds of reasons. It just makes mathematical sense to check prices.
Yeah.
Because as contractors, I believe it's our responsibility to provide a high quality product, but it's also our responsibility to make sure that the value of that product matches what we charge for it.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't mean the prices will be the same. That just means what we charge should match its value.
Right.
But along the lines of the perfect way that we alluded to it earlier, like if you had a best friend,
Right.
you wouldn't get 3 quotes. And I'm not advocating for not.
Yeah.
But we're going to
obviously.
dig in a bit, right, on what you can accomplish. I think knowing what you can accomplish if you don't know someone, and what you can accomplish if you don't, with doing 3 interviews. Like, how much do you need to know about whatever it is that you're buying to make an informed decision? And then what can you lean on for resources to know that you can trust this person?
It's getting harder too, because there's not always good information on the internet.
There is.
There's
that's
a
true,
lot of
yeah.
junk out there. There's a lot of we use the phrase bro science a lot, right?
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Oh my gosh. And there's a lot of things that when you hear it, like you're like, oh, that makes sense. And you can nod along, and then
It goes into the knowledge bank like facts, and it's like later you're like, wait a second.
you start processing. You're like, no, that guy didn't know what he was talking about at all. Why would I listening to that guy?
So I really love that guy at lunch, but
how do you filter through the mess?
Yeah.
How do you find the right information? And I'd say, like, when you were talking about price there, I think that's why we're a good place to start with this. We're a good resource to put this kind of brand together, because that was one of the things that appealed to me here, is that attention to value, not value in terms of like the cheapest price. Like, are you getting the value for what you're spending? Like, we don't ever claim to be the most cost affordable solution necessarily, but we are amazing at what we do, and we pay our technicians for that, and that means you're going to get great quality work. So
the cheapest price is a viable business model. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not our business model.
No.
Because my concern is that what we do lasts, et cetera, and I don't want this to be an advocacy necessarily for our company.
No.
I want to share these things out there and these ideas, but I mean, Walmart is a price side model. Like, their business is based on how they buy things.
Right.
And when you're assembling something in someone's home, like, there are a lot of moving pieces. It matters who's doing the work. Were you thoughtful about the materials that are brought? Are you thoughtful about the inside of someone's home? And so it was hard for me as I looked at our business and thought, literally did take, I will say, if anything, right, a ground floor look at, okay, what is our culture like? What is our model? What are we trying to be? And then own it. Just own it every day. Which, that's actually not a bad little piece of advice for contractors who are new. Like, okay, understand what your value proposition is, and then, like, live and die by it. Like, die on that hill.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, it's worth it.
And I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think we do a good job of balancing that, being conscious of the customer and the price and their dollar, which is important, and not sacrificing our quality of work for that. So I think you as a contractor just have a very unique perspective, and a very I'd say admirable and trustworthy perspective in terms of what a customer is looking for. So I think if we can continue to build on your knowledge and expand this out to help customers find all kinds of contractors for what they're looking for, not just what we do.
Everything that's out there. And then, in a nutshell, if they didn't have to know everything about whatever it is that they're sourcing, if it was HVAC or a roof or landscaping or anything, maybe it's just as important to know how to pick a contractor as it is to pick the work. In fact, it could be potentially, because generally there's a craftsperson involved. They're in your home. That probably is the most important part, because if you can trust them at that, you can trust their advice, right?
Right.
You get to that point.
And that's hard. And that's where my expertise kind of comes in, because, my whole job in marketing is to get people to call us, right?
For sure.
That's a very competitive thing. It's not like it was when I was a kid. There's no phone book that you're just trying to make sure you can get in there, or maybe buy the bigger ad in the yellow pages. It's Google, and there are more people to offer services
We're in the matrix.
than you can see. Then like you're really like
there's
when
an
you're looking at-
algorithm.
So you have to put your best foot out there. You have to get great reviews from really good, like real customers. And then as a consumer, you need to be aware of those games and those things that the industry has to play to make sure you see them and be able to filter out who's doing it in a trustworthy way.
I'm going to jump in too, because you're hitting hot buttons for me. So
Right.
the Google algorithm, right? So reviews are a big deal.
Yeah.
And I can look, when I look in our space especially, and tell which reviews are genuine and which ones were, I don't want to say people are out doing fake reviews, but the Google algorithm is built on a review model.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't allow any fake reviews in our review bucket, but we struggle to get reviews. It's a thing.
Right. And we've worked really hard to do better at that, because we struggled before I got here, and we recognize that, and the team has just done a great job at soliciting good, real reviews from customers that are more than happy to share their story. It can be hard to tell who's doing that in an ethical and in a right way, or who's really just, like you said, pulling your chain, or maybe not even writing real reviews. Maybe they're coming from a company, or
it's a skill set worth having as a consumer.
Right. Like what should you look out for?
For sure.
It's I always say it's like the phone book had a ranking system.
Dude, I remember how happy I was the day that I actually was the person, because I've been around long enough, that had the good fortune of kicking the Yellow Pages people out of our office.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, their sales schemes are unbelievable. We could do a podcast on that.
Oh, my gosh.
It would just be, and they always would bring a team of salespeople in. It was the craziest thing. But anyway.
I can imagine.
It really was. It felt like a high pressure deal for sure.
You can get a full page
spread.
And
I was like, we're kicking them out of here because we got Google, Dad. I was that guy, and it worked great for a bit until we all started bidding up for reviews. In fact, again, these things keep rolling, but that's probably a thing for another podcast. Consumers do need to understand, when they're hiring a service contractor, there's a component of cost that service contractor has to absorb to be in the algorithm. Like it's a thing. Google is a service. It's a very profitable business, and the bill is being paid by the people who use it.
Yeah, and if there's that kind of money rolling around, and there's serious business behind it, there's always something as a consumer that there's an awareness that you need. If people are spending money to just see you, you got to ask questions, is like, who's doing it in the right way?
There is literally a part in the algorithm, and you know this, but we've talked about it because it was one of my pain points, where Google is they're map-centric, map-driven, neighborhood-driven. Depending on a business, if you were a donut shop, and I really don't know the donut business, so if there's any donut shop owners out there and I get this wrong, please absolve me, but in our business, our service technicians, they don't start at our office.
Right.
Like, our address doesn't matter, but it does to Google.
Yeah, our technicians start wherever they're at, wherever they're living.
And so literally, you can improve the algorithm by opening an office on let's say a street in a neighborhood that you want to do business with, that with that area, and it's literally just a shell of an office, and it's all for the algorithm. And it's so frustrating. There's so many things like that, but those kind of things to help people understand that, and just maybe even the more we talk about it, maybe some of the broken stuff gets unbroken too.
That would be fantastic, because it does get frustrating, because like there's these things happening, and Google can't police everything. They're a global company, and there are just thousands and thousands of companies.
It does feel like the Google police sometimes.
Sometimes it does. Yeah, you're right. We don't know how it all works.
Not anti. And if you guys are listening, please don't cancel our podcast.
But yeah, I mean, in that sense, what can you look out for, and how can we make sure that we're helping you make an informed decision? Because it's scary enough owning a house. Like, filling out that paperwork, signing that thing, when you see how much that mortgage is going to cost you over the 30 years, like, that's a frightening investment.